Hi friends, my name's Matt. I'm an alcoholic and an addict. Welcome to my late night NAAA recovery video. I'll say it's unofficial, right? Nowadays with COVID and all though, it's really difficult for a lot of people to be able to go out and go to a meeting, you know, and it seems like to me that the world's become a little bit more remote viewing, remote work. Lots of places still have remote school. And I think that's really neat because I think that the availability to have a recovery base right there on my laptop or on my cell phone is really cool, especially in places or situations where a person can't just get up and go to a meeting. So I've decided that I'm going to do recovery-based videos on my YouTube every now and then. I've done a couple so far, and I'm actually pretty happy with them. So I might rattle on a little bit here because I don't really even have a topic. You see, I went to Betty Ford Recovery Center when I had hit rock bottom. I decided to get serious, and when I walked in the doors, I was ready. I had a green pillowcase in my hand, and it was full with a lot of different liquors. You know, I had like half a bottle of wine, some vodka. I don't really remember exactly what was in there. I do know that I was trying to power my way through the tail end of a 30-year scotch, though. And when I walked through the door, all I wanted was for someone to take it away from me. I wasn't going to let anybody take it away from me, but I really wanted someone to take it away from me. And once I had finally pried my fingers off of it, I was able to sit down and start mellowing out. I started paying attention. I went to 2 recovery centers before that. They were really good. They weren't as in depth really as Betty Ford because they gave a faster paced recovery to it. However, I found that the message was still exactly the same. As I tried to figure out how to get right with myself and in my head and with the world, I was trying to figure out what the tools were, and I was cross-examining them with everything that I believed before, right? Because my previous 2 rehabs, I went in, I was an A student, right? I liked to be able to recite back the stuff. I liked everybody thinking that I was actually paying attention. However, that wasn't what I was doing. I was actually trying to find reasons why I wasn't an alcoholic. I wasn't an addict, right? All these people, that's your problem. I have different problems. My problem's not the booze. My solution is the booze, right? My solution is the alcohol. That's the outcome of the problems that I have in life. And they all told me the same thing. They're like, you're wrong. Your problem's the alcohol, your problem's the drugs. And I wasn't willing to admit that. Well, I walked through the door of Betty Ford, and I was ready to admit that. I told them, my problem's the alcohol, my problem's the drugs, I'm an alcoholic and an addict, my life has become unmanageable, and I need help figuring it out and fixing it. I had become willing. And then, one of the funniest things in the world to me, I mean, it's funny now, then it was not funny. It was outraging, right? All of them said the same thing. My counselors, my psychiatrists, the people doing the lectures, they all said the same thing. They said, your problem is not drugs and it's not alcohol. You have 1,000 different problems in your life that make you run to the drugs and alcohol to forget about those problems. I'll tell you, my head practically popped off its shoulders, right? And once I had calmed down and started thinking about it, I started listening to them. I'm like, okay, wait, no, I walked in here so that y'all could teach me what I need to know to be able to have a happy, healthy life and have good interactions with the world around me. Not only do I want to have good interactions, I want to be the kind of person that other people want to have good interactions with. So I mellowed myself out and I started listening to them. And I hadn't heard them before. Everybody else was saying the same thing. I just wasn't hearing it the way that they were saying it, or with the selective hearing that I had. I didn't realize that my problems actually started in childhood, and they stacked up. It was a lot of different small issues that became very big, like gravel on the road. I can pick up a handful of gravel, I can put it in my pocket, I can walk around with it my whole life. I can pick up another handful of gravel, put it in the other pocket, and walk around with it for the rest of my life. However, if I were to take 3 or 4 backpacks filled with gravel, put them on me, and try and walk, I'm not going to make it very far. And that is where I wound up. So when I got to Betty Ford, they started me out in this one group. It lasted about a month. I spent 6 months there in all. I was really serious about it. There was no other way. And my life had become completely unmanageable. I knew if I didn't sober up and start flying right, that I was not going to make it very long in this world. You know, at least not in any state that is livable, right? So my first group, there was this lady in there, and she had like 10 of us in a circle, and we'd go in and talk every day. And what she did, she started out in childhood. She started out with each of us individually, and we learned about the little things from our childhood that basically we were still angry at. Ways that we were mistreated by our parents, strange things that had happened to us, traumas that we had been involved in and barely had memories of. However, they had stacked up, right? It was that gravel, and we were wearing backpacks, and we didn't even realize that for me, by the time I was 9 or 10, there was already a lot of weight in those backpacks that I was carrying around. And what happened is I wound up not able to understand any of it. And so I carried that around with also a large load of confusion, really, from the eyes of a kid, basically. She helped me sit down and figure out every little thing and realize that those things weren't my fault, and realize that the people involved and the situations that happened, lots of it wasn't their fault either. She found a way to help me realize, not a way to get over it, a way to understand it, and understand why in certain situations I was triggered to react in certain ways, right? Now, after that group, I moved into another group, a larger group that dealt with more adult issues, dealt with the actual core issues of addiction. Those little feelings that make us want to drink or use when we're alone. Even once we're sober, those little moments in life where we're alone, no one will know, and we're just gonna do it, run it, you know, whatever. They taught me ways to avoid that, ways to recognize that, and ways to change the way I thought about myself. And also ways to change the way I thought about the moment that I was in. See, when I was in addiction, I'd look at myself in the mirror and I was melting. I could tell. I'd look at myself and I would be so sickened with myself, so sad with myself. I would tell myself, why are you doing this? Why is this happening to me? Look at me. I know what's happening. A couple more days and it's just going to get worse. I've been doing this for years. If I keep doing this, it's just going to keep like this, and I'm just going to keep getting worse and worse and worse, right? I would tell myself, tomorrow I'll stop. Tomorrow never came, though. The next day would come. The same reasons to drink or use would be there. And I would look at myself in the mirror again and I would say, tomorrow I'll stop. Well, the second group that I was in, they taught me all these little psychological tricks to realize that the moment was now, and that the moment is always now, and that tomorrow will never arrive. And they gave me understanding of the psychological issues at hand, because like psychology, okay, recovery-based psychology deals with recovery on multiple different levels. There isn't any psychology built simply for addiction. It doesn't seem to me. What they did for an addiction-based psychological recovery is take from a lot of different psychological groups the tools for trauma or for obsessive compulsion or manic anxiety, manic depression. They take the little tools out of each group and put them into a new pile that was specifically set for addiction, right? And a lot of them were very interesting. Talked about brain chemistry, talked about, I guess obsessive compulsion is a very good one. And I believed that psychology was for everybody else, basically, right? I didn't doubt it, and I could understand how people could become programmed to feel a certain way in a certain situation. It wasn't until, though, I started understanding RET. That's rational emotive therapy. There's also there's cognitive behavioral therapy. Right, okay. CBT, yes. For the longest time I used to say CBD, and they did not like that in group. But what that is, in a nutshell, if something happens, it makes us feel a certain way, right? Now, when the way we think about what happened makes us feel the way that we feel because of the thing. So like, if I'm standing in a doorway, right? Let's say I'm an office worker. I'm working in an office. I'm standing in the doorway. I have one foot out in front of me. My friend is over here who also works there. He's doing something or she's doing something. And then all of a sudden they rush out the door, right? And they step on my foot and they're just gone, right? And let's say I didn't really even like them very much anyway. We're not like hang out at the water cooler friends. We're just like acquaintances, right? When that happens, they step on my foot. That hurts. They leave. They didn't say I'm sorry. They didn't even acknowledge that I was standing there. So what I instantly think is, how rude. I must not even register on the scale of being a person to them. They didn't even say they were sorry. I'm the one that got hurt. That hurt, right? What? Am I not even a human being? Right? And that's, okay, the action, and then what I'm thinking about the action, and then the emotion. So I become mad. They step on my foot. It hurts. I think that they don't care about me, right? So there's the action, then that they don't care about me. That's what I'm thinking. Then I become mad because I think that they don't care about me, and that hurt. So rational emotive therapy would be changing the way I think about what just happened. So instead of thinking they're just inconsiderate, I must be nothing to them, I think to myself, maybe their wife is having a baby, and maybe we're actually better friends than I thought because we see each other at the water cooler and we always laugh together and everything, maybe they're going to say I'm sorry next time they come back, or they didn't even realize it. They were in such a hurry. There's an emergency or something, right? By changing the way that I've thought about what happens, I don't get mad anymore. Instead, I empathize with them and I feel what they might be going through, right? Now, this isn't talking about a way to block out reality, right? I'm not trying to block out reality, right? If it were a situation where it's just inconsiderate or something, I'd use another tool that they teach us in recovery. That's rigorous honesty, as well as enforcing boundaries, right? Or standing up for myself, basically, right? Now, rigorous honesty is different than brutal honesty. Like, if I if somebody asks me, you know, do these glasses look good on me? And I'm like, no, they look really stupid, by the way. That's brutally honest. I've been very brutal in telling them the truth that those glasses do not look good on them. However, if they ask me, do these glasses look good on me? And I'm like, not really. I mean, maybe another pair, you know, would probably look better, you know. That's rigorous honesty. I've been honest with them, and I've also kind of tried to watch for their feelings. Now, boundaries would be standing up for my boundary would be more in this situation, right? So the next time I'd see them, I would talk to them, especially if I still felt bad about what had happened. I would be like, hey, excuse me, the last time I saw you, you ran past and you stepped on my foot. I was wondering, is everything okay, or did you not see me there? I would bring that up, kind of, you know, and try and engage a conversation about it. Maybe let them know that it bothered me, you know, and try and maintain that round the water cooler friendship. So that's what the second group started giving me, was a better understanding of myself and why I feel the way I feel, and how I deal with other people, and how important that is, actually. Because if I just ran up to the guy next time that I saw him and I was like, you jerk, what are you doing? Aren't I a person? How's a rubber jubba? Well, not only is that person not going to like me anymore, and probably think that I've way overreacted, especially if his wife was having a baby and he was going to come back and apologize to me the next day, and I've just totally headed him off. Not only is he going to think I'm a jerk, but everybody around me that has just seen that is also going to think that I'm a jerk. They're going to tiptoe around me. They're going to tell other people, well, be careful around that guy. He's explosive, right? Somewhere along the lines, now I'm not saying any one thing here is what helped me. It was a correlation of everything that helped me. And that's what makes recovery complicated and difficult a lot of times, because there's no one little thing that's going to fix anything. There's not even 10 little things that's going to fix anything. It's a rigorous routine of a bunch of different things that we do every single day that makes life better and our interactions with others better, because we maintain it every day. There's an interesting factoid that they told me, though, that makes it gives a little bit more hope, because I mean, if I had to juggle 100 things every single day, that'd be really difficult. This little factoid is awesome. It takes 90 days to change a habit and reinstill a new habit. So by continuing to practice that difficult thing, that little chain of juggling 100 things, at 90 days, I can sort of stop concentrating on it so much. My hands know where the balls are going to fall, know where the next one needs to be thrown, and I can juggle continuously. I did a little experiment about this, actually, very recently. Well, probably about 3 months ago, actually, I started this experiment. When I get undressed to go to sleep at night, I take my boots off and I put them at the foot of my bed at the side that I sleep on. So here's my bed, and I sleep on this side. I get undressed at the foot and I put my boots right there. When I first started doing that, every morning when I would get up, or if I got up in the middle of the night to go to the refrigerator and get a drink or something, I would trip over those boots. That instilled this idea to do an experiment. And instead of putting my boots at the foot of the bed where I wouldn't trip on them anymore, I continued to put my boots in the same spot. And I continued every day to trip on them and think to myself, why am I doing this? Why don't I just put them at the foot of my bed, right? Well, something happened. And all of a sudden, after about 90 days, in the middle of the night, it doesn't matter. I can be dead asleep, tired. I walk around those boots and head to the refrigerator, probably for some Dr. Pepper, and it's neat. I reckon that to to recovery, kind of. I think that's what I've got right now. I think this has been a pretty good talk. I hope that it's been useful. I hope that somebody can get something out of it. And if nothing comes of this, at least we've had a few moments to think about recovery and to stay focused in what it is we're trying to achieve in life, which is simply having better interactions, not only with the world, but with ourselves, the way we think about ourselves and our circumstances and situations. Remember, if nobody's told you today, I care about you. As always, God and Jesus bless us all.